We've got a B9 S5 with 67,000 miles with suspected rocker arm failure. So step one, let's start the engine and listen to how it sounds. So I can hear it quite audible tapping on bank 2. You can hear the high pressure fuel pump. Definitely say there's something going on bank 2. We've got an inspection camera with a floppy end. Take the oil cap off. Have a look inside. So as you can see, they are definitely the old shape bearings. They are very small. I'm going to get the car up, take the wheels off, take the upper suspension arms off. The shock absorbers get unbolted from up top. AC compressor, that stays on the car, that can be unbolted. We don't have to drain the AC out of it. We need to drain the oil, coolant, and that's it. I'm going to take the air filter off, obviously. There's a vacuum pipe there, coolant pipe down there. There's another coolant pipe on that side. Gotta disconnect some of this ECU wiring, boost pipe, this coolant hose as well, and I'll show you underneath what needs to be disconnected as well. And underneath we have a lot of oil leaks. Looks like it's possibly coming from in the middle of the V and dripping down the side of the engine. I also spotted a coolant leak. I'm not sure if I'll be able to pick it up on the camera. If I zoom in, where is it? Just behind that connector there. You can just about see it. It is leaking coolant. A little bit oily on the back, but I was also looking up here at the upper timing covers, and to me it looks like they've been off before. Because that silicone job up there, what's going on with this camera? That silicone job is not very good, and the camshaft carrier also has been off because there is loads of silicone and it's not factory. So I wonder why the rocker arms have failed and have the old shape when I can clearly see that someone has taken it off before. But to remove the engine, we've got to take the exhaust off, we've got to take this cover off for the prop shaft, we've got to take the clip off, and then we can slide the prop shaft backwards and the engine forward when we're removing it. We have a gearbox plug right there, steering linkage that will have to come off. All the suspension stays in place. We've got to take the caliper off and hang it up there so that we don't have to mess around with bleeding the brakes afterwards. AC compressor, we've got 1, 2, 3 bolts, and we can take the belt off and we can hang the compressor over here so we don't have to drain the AC system, so that's good. And I've also noticed the engine mount is starting to leak hydraulic oil. So we'll let the customer know about that as well. But at the moment I'm a little bit I'm a little bit stuck because the customer has locking wheel nuts, but there's no locking wheel nut key in the car, so that's a bit of a shame. So we're gonna have to give him a call, see where it is. We've got a lot of oil leaks in the middle from the filter housing and possibly the oil cooler. We have a coolant leak from this pipe. Yep. And we also have evidence that the water pump has failed because we have dried coolant by this solenoid that controls the water pump down there. And what happens is the water pump fails and leaks coolant into the vacuum system, and it eventually makes its way up to here. So we're gonna need a new water pump as well. And you can definitely see this has been apart before. This is not a factory silicon job. It's currently 20 past 11. I'm going to set up a time lapse and let's see how long it takes to remove the engine. So like I mentioned earlier, we're going to take the suspension arms from these two bolts because this bolt is a bit of a pain to take off. You have to heat it up if it gets seized in there, and yeah, it's much faster to just take off these two bolts. We're going to take off some of this wiring for the ABS sensor down there, and then take the caliper off with the two bolts behind there, and then I can hang it up there out the way. I'm going to take this plastic arch liner out, this little plastic cover off as well, and that's about all you need to do for the suspension. When you need my voice, I'm here. When you need my voice. My biggest pet peeve as a mechanic is self-tapping Phillips head bolts, screws even. So this is all you got to do. I use a multi-flexi spanner to be able to get up there much easier. And then I just hang the caliper on some zip ties and a hook out the way, and the shock has been unbolted from up top. Over on the driver's side, the same process with the caliper and suspension arms, but we have a couple of wiring connectors we need to undo, some ground cables, and we also have to take off this coolant hose, and we also have to disconnect the plug for the engine mount. You're just going to loosen this 13mm bolt, get a T50 Torx, and this tensioner unclicks, and then you can remove the belt. Got a silicon master on the exhaust clamps. If your exhaust is leaking, cover the clamp in silicon and it'll be alright. Oh boy. So not only are they siliconed on, they're also tack welded into place for some reason. Why would you need to tack weld in an exhaust clamp? Someone please explain to me. looks like 020 to me. So there we go, hour and 14 minutes has passed and the engine is out and ready to work on. And that's one of the reasons why we removed the engine instead of struggling with the engine still in the car. It doesn't take too long, and then you have loads of space to be able to take everything off. And we also do the carbon cleaning whilst the engine is out. And of course, we're able to rectify this coolant leak a lot easier. We can rectify the oil leak in the middle of the V a lot easier than instead of fighting to do the rocker arms still in the car and then having to struggle taking the front end off and wasting time replacing everything on the front as well. So now that the engine is out, the next step will be to remove the exhaust. We need to remove some of these coolant pipes, fuel line that runs across the back, high pressure fuel pump, coil packs, injectors, fuel rail. We need to remove the intake piping as well. The wiring loom of course needs to come out the way, and then we can get down to the rocker arms and see what kind of damage the rocker arms have caused. And I'm also very curious as to what was done to this vehicle, because quite clearly you can see the covers have been off before, but the rocker arms are still the old shape, so who knows what's gone on there. So I was looking, usually you have these ground wires that are for the coil packs. They bolt to here, but someone has bolted them up there. Modification maybe it's easier to remove them, but even to change the spark plugs you don't need to remove this wire, so I'm not too sure why someone's done that, but they have. Only on bank 2. But anyway, I'm going to get to stripping the engine down and I'll come back when I'm ready to take the camshaft carrier out and we can have a look together what's happened. I've got the crankshaft locked. The camshaft's in the correct position on both banks, but I was having a look at the camshaft adjusters. Exhaust is lined up correctly. This notch is in between those two marks, but this notch should be all the way down here. So yeah, maybe it doesn't matter that much because the car was running, but it's definitely not supposed to be like that. Well, let's see what we find under here. Exhaust camshaft is no good. Intake camshaft looks okay. Oh, that's hilarious. So we've got damage from previous failure, and does anyone spot a difference between all of these rocker arms and this one up here? So these are all the old shape and this is the new rocker arm which someone has replaced already. Oh dear. This rocker arm is no good. If I can take it off. So this is that rocker arm I just removed on the exhaust up here. That is what was causing our tapping noise. let's take apart bank one and see what we find there. Camshafts on bank one look okay. So we have one new rocker arm there, and it was this rocker arm that was tapping because the needle bearings had fell out. So this is the second one from the edge, and this is the exhaust camshaft, and we can see definitely there was a little bit of contact on this lobe, but the second one from the end is this lobe. So that means whoever replaced that one rocker arm left this camshaft, which is not really usable, to be honest. It's pretty shocking. So this is the majority of the parts we'll be replacing. We've got a new oil filter. We've got 4 new valves, bolts for the camshaft adjusters, 2 new tensioners, intake manifold gaskets, vacuum pump gasket. We've got 2 upper timing chain guides. We've got a PCV gasket. We've got 2 gaskets for both of the camshaft carriers. And in this box we have 24 new rocker arms, and that's the part number for them. Someone always asks for it, so there you go. That's the upgraded rocker arms with the bigger needle bearings. And over here I've sorted out a new valve. Got a new thermostat with the thermal O-ring. Got a couple gaskets for the oil cooler and some of the pipes for the front of the engine. We've got a new oil filter housing gasket. Got a new valve that controls the vacuum, the water pump, exhaust manifold gaskets, and a new camshaft as well. So the owner did decide to do everything, except he doesn't want to do a water pump because he did recently get it replaced. It does look pretty fresh still, but we do have the upgraded water pumps. But like I said, he only just had that one replaced, so it should be all right for quite some time. I've got everything that I pretty much need. We like to keep everything in stock so that we can have a quick turnaround for these cars. So I'm gonna take all of these parts, go downstairs and start cleaning everything. And something a little bit special that we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be replacing these factory camshaft adjusters because they are very, very worn, in my opinion. We're gonna be replacing them with these Mehenker ones, and these are made from steel. They are a lot stronger, so they won't wear down as much, or to be fair, they shouldn't wear down whatsoever because this is steel, whereas the factory ones are aluminium. And you can see just how much the sprocket has worn away on this factory adjuster. The adjusters will work pretty much the same way as the factory ones do, but the only difference that I've noticed with them is that they don't come with a friction washer. But we spoke with the guys over in Poland and they said that they've tested it many times and it doesn't need it. In the past we have fitted these to 3 or 4 cars probably with these camshaft adjusters, and very sporadically we would get a RPM limitation because the camshaft adjuster on the exhaust side mainly was having issues locking. So when you would start the car, the adjuster wouldn't be in the correct position and it would throw up a fault code. So the guys have made a new adjuster. This is prototype 2, I believe. We did buy quite a few of these, but we did have to send them back. And these are like a goodwill gesture that they've given us for us to try. So we got them for free, so the customer will get them for free and we can test them out for Mehenker. I don't believe there's going to be any issues because, like I said, they've done their tests on them. They're finally happy with them. So we'll see how it goes. So I've cleaned off all of the silicone all the way around. The next step for me will be I'm going to get the engine crane and I'm going to lift the engine up a little bit so that I can take the intake manifolds off so that I can do the walnut blasting. And once the manifold is off, I'll show you just how dirty those valves really are. So that's the condition of the valves. Nice and clean. Manifold back on, and I can move on to doing the other side. I've got all new 24 rocker arms. I like to soak them in oil before I fit them. It's probably better than putting them in dry. Over here I have reassembled this camshaft carrier. This isn't a brand new camshaft, but this is a very good used camshaft that I have from one of the engines that we bought because we needed I think we needed a block from it, and it came with a couple good camshafts, so I'm going to use this one. This is the old camshaft that was damaged, as you can see. So the only thing left to do now is to fit all the rock arms on there, put the camshaft carriers back on, lock the timing, and fit the new Mehenker adjusters. I've got the Mehenker adjusters in place. I've pulled the tensioner pin out. Now I need to torque them down to 120 newton meters. And one more thing to note about these adjusters is that they don't have any kind of timing position, because these are perfectly circular, whereas the factory ones are a little bit of an egg shape. That's why it's important to put them in the correct position. So I'm now going to have to hold these camshaft adjusters somehow to pre-tension them, and I can torque down this bolt. I've turned the engine a couple of times to make sure that the camshafts are aligning again. Everything is looking good. I'm happy with it. It looks nice and clean. Now the only thing left to do is put these rear timing covers back on, which I've cleaned in the aqua blast machine. And then I can start taking the turbo off, filter housing, oil cooler, and all of this stuff on the front as well. So I think in the middle of the V is a lot cleaner than what it was before. Now I can put the turbo back on and move on to removing all of the cooling parts. I've cleaned up the engine. There's no more signs of coolant leaking, so that in the future, if it does leak, you'll be able to see what's leaking. Over here I have cleaned these coolant pipes in the aqua blast machine. We've got the new seals, we've got a new valve and a new thermostat. We also have this new thermal O-ring, and I found the best way to fit these O-rings is use a bearing press kit, put it in and hammer it in. You can also freeze this so that it will shrink a little bit, but I've found that you don't really necessarily have to, but it does go in a little bit easier. Everything is pretty much complete. The pipes look nice and clean. Hopefully there won't be any more coolant leaks or oil leaks from the middle. So now all I've got to do is pretty much put everything back onto the engine, like the injectors, high pressure fuel pump, coil packs, and of course the wiring as well. And then I can put the engine back into the car and we can start it up for the first time. I'm not going to record anything putting it back together because it's pretty boring in my opinion, so I'm just going to skip straight ahead when we're going to be putting some fresh oil in, and then we can turn the engine through the starter motor to build up some kind of oil pressure, and then we can start it up. Engine's back in. I've also vacuum filled the cooling system. You don't have to. These engines do bleed quite well because the bottle is so high up, but if you do vacuum fill it, it speeds it up. The only thing left to do now is to put some fresh engine oil in and we can crank it. Sounds a lot better now. There's no more ticking coming up from this bank.